Yeah, so you are able to see the screen, right?
Yes, sir.
So anyway, so last class, we have been discussing about, these functions of random variables. Okay. So anyway, that is also more or less close to reliability only. So we have discussed like, if we have multiple random variables and then, how do we handle this one? And it is a function of these random variables. Okay. So like linear things we have seen, and then we have seen some applications also like in reliability or even, how to find out performance functions, so how to handle this one, so that also we have seen like, we have seen these type of problems. Okay. And finally when there is a, linear log normal also we have seen, then how do we handle the performance functions. Okay, so sometimes we can write r minus s or ratio less than 1 0, like that also we can handle. And when there is a nonlinear transformation, say, so what is that we told in the last class, what was the most important thing? Nonlinear means how did we convert this into a linear?
Using Taylor series concept.
What we said was you can write into terms of Taylor series, and then the nonlinear. See, like this problem we have seen, right? So we have a nonlinearity because b d also random d square, they are coming in the denominator, say. So what we did finally after this Taylor series expansions and including terms up to first order, so finally we got a linear the expression itself. And anyway linear means it is very easy to handle the things. Okay, so the Taylor series will help you, but of course this is only first order. Okay, so now second order terms and other terms if you do, maybe so we will be able to get some better results. Okay. So anyway, so now this is one way, and the Monte Carlo simulations also are there that I have just given you the introduction. Now what we will do is before we go into this reliability, say this Monte Carlo and others, see one most important thing also one has to see, that is this concept of this extreme value theory. Okay, so this we have to see. Okay, so extreme value distributions. So this is a very the important thing we will be using in our this reliability theory also. Yeah. Okay. So now how this extreme value theory or extreme value distribution say. Okay. So sometimes it is also known as the extreme value theory also people use. So how are statistics of extremes also. So these are some words, statistics of extreme values, like that you see we do. Okay, so EVT kind of thing itself. So this is also very, very important, the thing itself. So when you are looking at extreme values, say like for example, so like if you see that I will just give you in sports, say, okay, like a cricket or whatever here. Now when cricket say, okay, so like you say the probability, like if you take Virat Kohli or if you take any batsman, okay, so you know how many runs he has been done. But let us say, they have some 350, the innings have been, they have done, say, okay, so 300 matches or whatever. So you have all his data. So he has played some 300 or maybe 400 matches or whatever he has. So now you have the runs scored in each match actually. Okay, so now this 300 samples is there. So you can plot their histogram and you can find out what type of density function it is, and other things are fine. So this is like a routine regular, whatever we have studied previously also, like compressive strength you do on the cubes, you collect all the data and then you fit a histogram or a density, mean value, standard deviation, normal or log normal. That is anyway the traditional thing. Now if I ask a question, say, now I'm interested not in his runs, I'm interested in the extreme value. So like in cricket, say the extreme thing is how many centuries actually. Okay, I'm not interested how many runs he's doing in each match or whatever. So I'm interested only in the centuries, that is a rare events basically, centuries or maybe double century, which is a very, very, the extreme kind of thing. Now how to find out probability of this cricketer hitting a double century or these type of extremes, so how you follow it, how do we handle these type of things itself, or like we want to find out the probability of 9 magnitudes, say. Okay, 9 magnitude, these are very, very large, and then so these are extremes. So now what happens, how do we handle these type of extremes itself? Okay, so this is extreme, the value. Even in our design also, you have, as already I told you, right? You may have all the past data. Say in the past data, you will the maximum value. The future, we know that maximum value also may be exceeded also. Okay, so how do we handle these type of extremes itself? Okay, so this is how what we call as the extreme value theory. So here, we try to handle like this. Okay. So now what we try to do is generally this type of problems. See, and the problem of this one, suppose if I take all the data and then I will do these type of, a general distributions. I'm combining extreme values with, all kinds of values. And then if you are doing say, okay, so like normal distribution, if I have, okay. And now what happens for normal distribution are this, if I take entire data and then you fit something and you get some type of numbers to say, what happens for normal distribution, what will be the extreme values, what is the probability associated with these extreme values in normal distribution?
Sir, near to zero.
Near to?
Zero, sir.
Almost zero kind of thing. So what may happen is, and if we say it is zero, sir, but still, 9 magnitude, if extreme things are happening basically. So like, for example, say our COVID situation, so there's a COVID situation, say previously, like before 2020 or whatever, so if somebody said that, the probability of this type of COVID situation is almost zero, but still you followed it. This corona, this COVID said is an extreme thing, the whole thing has got, you followed, right? Still the kind of thing itself. So this is what the extreme values, but still, they occur and their probabilities, if you use normal, they say it may be zero, you may be relaxed or whatever. So, but, that is a big issue. Okay. Even in Chennai floods, I think 2015 or something. So whatever has been done in the past, that the records have been you followed, right? Wiped out actually. Okay. So like you can see in athletics also, say like Usain Bolt, how much is a 100-meter record? So 9.86 seconds, so that is a record, or there is a chance of somebody breaking that record also. These type of extreme things itself. Okay. So what happens is if you combine the extreme values with all the data and then you try to answer this question, it will lead to a lot of other problems, and you may be, the probabilities may be underestimated actually. Okay, when you compare these extremes with all kinds of data sets itself. Okay, so that's why this extreme value theory comes into picture. So the whole data, if you try to mix up everything, the probabilities of getting extreme values, maybe you may be underestimating actually. Okay, the extreme values may be low. Followed. So this is a problem, so what one does here is, in the probability theory, say generally what they do is you split the data into two pieces. Okay, so that is a theory, into two pieces actually. You followed. So one is, you take the value around the mean value. So around the mean, sometime, plus or minus sigma or whatever. So this data you handle separately. And the second data, say you take all the extreme values. You followed. So this is extreme values. Okay. So this is the separate distributions you fit actually. So two separate distributions. Okay, so why this is required? The reason is if I mix all the data in one go, okay, so the problem is extreme values prediction is getting underestimated actually. Okay, so the idea here is, you do separate. So you don't include the extreme values. Like for example, if you take rainfall data, say, okay, so our all India mean is somewhere around 83, this is the data basically. You followed. So the rainfall data is something like this. Okay, so now, what we are trying to do is you take all the extreme values, like, these are all the largest values, whatever you have in the data. So if there is 100 years, say, you may be having, 20 or 10 extreme values may be there, or you may have to decide like, this is my threshold, say, okay. So if I take a threshold, say, okay, so this range, that is the data which is around the mean value, say, so this is some distribution, and which are above the thresholds, basically, maybe 4 points or 5 points or whatever, you put another type of distribution itself. So this is what we call as, the extreme value theory itself. Okay. So there are some mathematical, there are some two theorems are there for extreme values. Okay. So the extreme values, say, they follow another distribution. Okay, not the original data distribution. So the data may be normal, but extreme values, they may not be normal. They may be some other distribution. If you use a normal distribution, then you may be underestimating this type of data sets also. Okay. So there are another distribution, and here there are two theorems to say, which help us in doing this one. So one is this, the generalized, generalized extreme value distribution. So which is, is GVDV, right, generally. And this distributions, it comes from this, there is one famous theorem is there. We will not prove the Fisher, tip, Genedenko, this theorem. Okay, so this is a theorem, So what this theorem is the famous theorem. Okay, so how to find out this extreme value theory from the data. Then another thing which you can do is peak over threshold method. You followed. So POT, approach, or sometimes they also call this as approach. And there is here also we have a theorem. Piquant's, a theorem. So he says that, and this is related to Pareto distributions basically. So these are two famous, the theorems which are widely, used to find out the extreme value theory. Okay, so we will discuss both of them. But anyway, the Pareto distribution is fine, but we will be more focusing on the widely used is this generalized, the extreme value distribution. Okay, so now let us see the first one. So what it does and how it does, let us see the differences between these two approaches. Okay, now here what we do is the first one say what we try to do is like this. So let's say, okay. So X be the random variable with the known PDF. So this is the data, and I know its probability density function. Okay. Now what we are trying to do is, we extract, the samples. Say we extract some samples from the population. Okay. Now that means some random samples. Now, so like for examples, I have some, 1 lakh or maybe 2 lakh data sets are there, huge data sets. Okay. So the huge data set is a complete data set we call as a population. So population means, it is a complete data set. So let us a large data set, say 1 lakh or 1 crore, this many samples are there. Now what we are doing is from this population, so we are drawing random samples. Okay. So one sample here, one sample. So here, so if you are having, 1 lakh data set, you make samples of 500. So at a time you pick 500 numbers from it, one sample, then another 500, another sample, like that you create so many samples. So the first sample, like this, I have some samples, some 500. So this is one sample, sample number 1. Then I have sample number 2. So like this, I have taken random samples, basically sample 2, second sample, third sample, like that. Okay, so many samples I have derived. Okay. Now, of course, each, if I denote this as M, say, I'm just denoting by, so each M is the sample size. Okay, so how many is this one? So I'm taking random samples from the population. So like so the example, so I have 1 lakh data sets are there. So in this 1 lakh data sets, I have randomly picked up 500 numbers actually. Okay, one sample. Then in the same data sets, I have picked up another sample randomly, some another 500 samples, another 500. So 500 like that you followed it. I have picked up actually. So now I will calculate, you see, the maximum. So you find out maximum value in each sample. Okay, you just pick up the maximum value in this 500 numbers, say. Okay, so you pick up the maximum value. Let us say denote this maximum value as x1, x2, like this. Okay, xn. So x1 is, the maximum value in sample 1. Here's the meaning of this in sample 1. Okay. Now similarly, say this is in the nth sample actually, the maximum value in the nth sample. So like that, I will have x1 to xn. You see these many numbers itself. Okay. So x1, x2, so up to some, let us say xn is there. Okay. So these are the the maximum values in each sample. So I have n samples, and in each sample there are m numbers, m number of the numbers are there in each sample. So the maximum values if you take, say, and then I define this new random variable yn. Okay, so which is the maximum of all these things. Okay, xn. So this is a maximum value, and similarly I can define minimum value also. So now what we are trying to do is, now among each sample you have extracted what is the maximum value, and similarly you can also extract the minimum value also. Okay, so you have a minimum value also we have. So now I will define the lowest of these the values up to some the xn. Okay, so this is the maximum and minimum value, minimum value in each set. Okay, so in each set you have found out, say. Okay, so generally in extreme value theory, say this letter n is used for to denote the maximum value, and this one it is denoted by this minimum value. This is just a notation actual, okay, to difference between these two. Okay, so this is what you see we have. Now if you assume, say, now we are interested in finding the probability density functions of these quantities actually. So what is the probability density, say, of this yn, and similarly say the probability density function of this extreme values. Okay, so this is what we are interested. Now if you assume, say, so if you assume that this x1 x2 whatever values are coming, so anyway they are also coming from the data. If I assume them as IIDs, okay. Now what do you mean by IIDs? What's the definition of IID? Long back we have defined, right? What do you mean by IIDs? So long back we said, right, when I say IID, what is the meaning of this? I stands as identical and another I is for so independent, okay, and distributed random variables. So if you assume that all these values are independent, say, and of course they are all identical. Why they are all identical? No. See, all these x1, x2, x3, all these random variables are same or different. They are all coming from the same set. Okay, so you may have taken the sample here, there, and here, there, but all of them belong to the original set itself. So they are identical. And if you assume them as the identity, this independent distributed set, so the probability density function, okay, for this individual x1, x2, all are same only because of this IID. So that means is the probability distribution function, say, of x1, probability distribution function for x2. So they are all same because they are all coming from the same the data only, xn of x itself. Okay, and now if I try to find out, say, if I ask this probability so of all these random variables, so x1 less than or equal to x, then x2 less than or equal to x. So like this, capital Xn, say, less than or equal to x. Okay, so now what happens to this expression? If all of them are independent, how do you write this multidimensional probability if all the things are independent?
You can add the individual probability.
With the multiplication of individual things. So probability x1 less than or equal to x, probability say x2 less than or equal to x. So like this, the probability say xn less than or equal to x actually. Okay. Now, so what we are trying to find out is probability of yn, which is the maximum of max of this value itself, less than or equal to y. So this is what I am interested actually. Okay, the probability density function, say, of this quantity, we are interested. Okay, the distribution. So now that anyway depends on our these numbers only. So this means this is the probability. Okay, so x1 less than or equal to y, and then x2 less than or equal to y, like this x and say less than or equal to y, and assuming they are all of them are independent. So I can write this expression as x1 less than or equal to y, and probability say x2 less than or equal to y. So like this we write this expression xn less than or equal to y. But now because they are all identical random variables, so what will be these individual quantities? So these all of them will be, say, probability of x1 less than or equal to y, probability of x2 less than or equal to y, because all of them are identical random variables. Say independence means you break a multidimensional into product of individual. Now, if they're identical, say, so what is that we have said? Because all of them are coming from the same population, say, so they're all probability distributions will be same itself. So then this becomes, simply px of y whole to the power of n actually, because you are multiplying n times. So this is the probability density function for the extreme value. Okay. Now similarly, say, so we can do for the minimum value also. So that is y1 greater than y. Okay, so this also we can calculate. That is this expression also for the minimum value. So maximum we have seen the minimum value. So this will be, you see, we can write this as x1 less than or equal to y, then x2 greater than y. So there is no equal to here. Okay, now like this, x and say greater than or equal to y, assuming identical and independent. Okay, so this can be written as probability x1 greater than y multiplied by x2 greater than y. So like this, the probability is xn greater than y. Okay, now this can be written as, this expression can be written as 1 minus p x1 less than or equal to y. Okay, this is the first expression. Now similarly, say you multiply 1 minus p x2 less than or equal to y. Like this, you write for the last one also. So finally, the probability density function actual. Okay, so this p y1 greater than y. Okay, so this turns out to be 1 minus p because all of them are same, x less than or equal to y. So finally, whole to the power of n. So or this can be written as y1 less than or equal to y. Like if you write in terms of our original definition, say 1 minus px of y, say, okay, whole to the power of n. So this is a probability distribution function for the smallest value. Okay, and this is the probability distribution function for the largest value. This is a distribution. You can also find out density. So density, if you want to find out what you have to do from the distribution. Now, what's the relationship between density and distributions? So if I want to find out density, say, what is that I have to do? I know the distribution. Now, what will be the density function? So you have to differentiate the expression. So this expression has to be differentiated. So the first one will be n into px of y. Okay, whole to the power of n minus 1 px of y. So this is the largest value, and this will be n into 1 minus you see px of y whole to the power of n minus 1 and px of y. So this is the smallest value. Okay, the densities, and this is the largest value. You followed. So these are the densities. So this is how the extreme value distribution comes into picture actually. Okay, so to just have a quick this one, say we can do a nice you can just check once you followed it, a nice problem. Okay, just one example. So this is a bridge actually. So we have a bridge deck, say. Okay, so there are a lot of cracks are there in the bridge deck. Okay, so many cracks are there, and somebody has detected some 10 cracks. So the 10 cracks have been detected. Okay, and let us say these are 10 cracks, say. So they have assumed that they are normal distribution basically. So they are all normally distributed. So the mean value, say, is some 0.5 inch, I think. Okay, and its standard deviation, say, is basically 0.05 inch actually. So these are the numbers basically. Okay, so 10 cracks are there, and this is the data, and they all assumption is they are all come from a normal distribution. So this is the mean value, and then standard deviation is 0.05 inch itself. Now I want to find out the probability, say. Okay, so the probability that the maximum crack size. So the maximum you see the crack size is less than 0.6. Okay, so this is what you see we are interested here. Now here you followed it. There are two things are there. One is how do you solve this problem? Now, so the original data is a normal distribution. The mean and standard deviation has been given to you. Now you have been asked to find out the probability that the maximum crack size is less than 0.6 inch. So how do you solve this problem? See, the data is a normal distribution. You know the mean value and you know the standard deviation also. So you have to find out probability that this maximum crack size say is less than 0.6. How do you solve this one? Yeah, x less than or equal to 0.6. What is the standard way? Yeah, so how do we solve this problem? Now, how to find out this expression x less than or equal to 0.6? The data is normal, mean is 0.5, sigma is 0.05. Now you comment on this one. And we have to find out x less than or equal to 0.6. So how do we solve this? Now, how to solve this problem? Now, by using your ordinary things, how do we solve this one? So for normal distribution, data is normal, mean you know, the standard deviation you know. What will be px greater than or equal to 0.6? So how do you solve this one? You forget about extreme value distribution. If you use the original whatever we have discussed previously, say. So how do you handle this one? Yeah. So how to handle this problem? See, what is the mean and standard deviation? See, the data is normal, right? So the data is something like this. The mean value is 0.5 and you know the standard deviation also 0.05 he has told you. Now let us say some 0.6 comes somewhere here. Okay. Now where 0.6 comes? See the standard deviation is 0.05. Where is the 0.6 coming in?
2 sigma.
It is
U plus 2 sigma.
mu plus 2 times the sigma itself. So that is where your 0.6 comes here. Okay, and now you have been forced to find out probability that the crack size say is less than the 0.6 you followed. So this is what you have been asked to calculate, less than or equal to 0.6 itself. So how do you solve this problem? So what is the area? So less than or equal to 0.6 means how much where the area is
58%.
so you have
9.
this is the area you have seen, right? You follow. So if it is a normal distribution, say, so you take 5. What is that you do? X minus mu by sigma, you remember 0.6 minus 0.5 by you see 0.05. So this you can find out, and this is how much it turns out to be. So phi of 2.0. So from the standard normal table, say you will get 0.9772. So this is our probability actual, okay, which you are computing directly from the data. So you are not distinguishing between a maximum value or a minimum value or anything, just simply the data you have taken, and then this if you use say you will get this is a probability actual. Okay, so the maximum crack size is less than 0.6. Now what is what is your comment? So now if I ask you the probability that the crack size will be more than 0.6, how much will be that probability? So now x less than or equal to 0.6. Suppose if I ask x greater than 0.6, how much will be this value?
0.228.
Point?
0.228.
So 1 minus this actual. Okay, so how much it will be? 1 minus this. It will be how much? 0.97%. So 97% it is saying that it is less than 0.6. Okay, so now greater than 0.6 means 100 minus 97% is obviously it is some 3% or something like that. You will get, so very a low number you follow, right? You get it actual. And now as per our analysis, what is our analysis saying? What is our discussion saying right now? What is that we have done here? Now, what is that we are trying to say now? Extreme value theory means what is that you have to do?
So if we are going to calculate this way, then we may underestimate, like you said. So
Excellent. So we are so now if you take the data, entire data in one go, so the crack size extreme more than 0.6, that is the extreme values, it is coming around only 3% only. So now, so that means why you are getting very low value. The reason is because you have combined the data, everything in one go. That is a problem. So now if you take only the extreme value, say, okay, now what is our extreme value theory trying to tell you? The maximum value, what is its probability distribution or density function? No. So the probability distribution, say, for the largest value is given by this expression actually. Okay, so this is your parent distribution, whatever you have, to the whole to the power of n itself. So n is your sample size itself. Okay, so now, so we can say that x is a random variable. So now we are trying to find out probability of y10 because the largest value and yn. So this is given by the probability, say, so y of 10, okay, less than or equal to y. So this is what we have to calculate. So this you can write this as a probability of x less than or equal to y whole to the power of the 10. Okay, so this comes from this expression which we have already written, px of y whole to the power of n actually. So p of x less than, so this is nothing but p of x less than or equal to 0.6, okay, the whole to the power of 10. So this is what we have to write actually. So now what is a px less than or equal to 0.6? Already we have calculated. So this becomes 0.9772 whole to the power of 10. So this turns out to be, if you calculate in your computer, say, so this turns out to be 0.794. Now you comment. Previously, how much was the value? Now, if you take 1 minus this crack size is more than 0.6 inches. Previously, it was coming how much? 3% actually, if you use the original data. Now, how much it is? 0.794 means how much is the probability more than that?
79.4%.
No, 79.4 is less than 6 inch. My crack will be always lower than 0.6 inch. If the crack has to be more than 0.6 inch, say, okay, now how much will be the probability? That will be 1 minus this expression. So how much it is? Now almost previously it was 3%. Now it is
20.6%. 20.6.
So you can see, right, there is extreme value, the theory. So the original data, you mix everything, say, you may be underestimating this probabilities itself. You follow. So this is a very good example, which illustrates, the difference between the whole data, you take it into one go, and then if it is extreme value distribution, say, how much will be the numbers itself, okay? So now these is how, we can calculate also several things. And now here in this extreme value theory, say, we can have these asymptotic things automatically, comes up actually. Okay. So like, for example, the original data. So original data is exponential distribution. So I have a data which is original, it is exponential. I know the probability density function for exponential is, some lambda e to the power of minus lambda times x, and the probability distribution, say, is nothing but, you have to integrate this one. So 1 minus e to the power of minus lambda x. Okay. Now, so the original data is exponential distributed. Now I want to find out what will be the distribution of its extreme values. Okay, of y, and then the minimum also. Now, what will be this distribution of this and the distribution of the lowest value? So original data is exponential. Now what will be the distribution of the extreme values which come from exponential distribution? How we have to calculate? Okay, it's straightforward. So p of yn, okay, of y. So same expression we use, px of y whole to the power of n. So this becomes 1 minus e to the power of minus lambda y whole to the power of n. So you do this expansion for 1 e to the power of expansion. So n e to the power of lambda y plus n into n minus 1 by 2 factorial e to the power of minus 2 lambda times y. So you expand this. Finally, this is nothing but the expansion for a double exponential actually. Okay, so this you can write this as e to the power of minus n, e to the power of minus n, lambda times y actual. So this is a double exponential. You followed. So what is your comment now? So original data is exponential, say. What will be its extreme values? They will be distributed. What type of distribution it is? See, originally the data is coming from exponential distribution. Now what will be the distribution of its extreme value, the largest value? Now see here, what is this? It is very peculiar. What type of distribution it is? Originally it was exponential distribution. Now the data largest value is see what is this? Two exponentials. What is this distribution? It is nothing but it is original data is exponential, largest value is double exponential. You followed. Now similarly the smallest value say so p y1 of y. So this will be 1 minus px of y, okay, whole to the power of n. So substitute this expression say. So this turns out to be 1 minus e to the power of minus lambda y whole to the power of n. So 1 gets cancelled and 1 e to the power of minus n times lambda y. So this is for the smallest value. Now comment what smallest value, how it is distributed. This is a parent distribution. So parent is exponential. Now what is the smallest value? How it is distributed? What is the difference between this and this? Now what's the difference between this and this? See the expressions carefully. So whether any difference is there, parent distribution and the smallest value say. What's the difference? What's the difference?
Sir, it doesn't look much different.
So both of them are same actually. So what you can say is if original data is exponential, say its smallest value also exponential only, but its largest one will be double exponential. You follow? So that's the difference. So you can plot it computer, this p y say, okay, the density. That means you differentiate this expression. So if you differentiate this, it is very easy, and if you try to plot it in MATLAB, so it looks like this. Okay, so p yn of y say. Now if there is only when n is 1, okay, so when n is 1, that means only you have only the one sample. So when n is 1 say, one sample is there, so this becomes e to the power of minus lambda y will become. So if you plot, this also looks like this one for one sample. You followed. Now when n is equal to 2 say, because of double exponential, it shifts actually. Okay, now when n is equal to 3, it goes like this. When n is equal to this one say, so it will be, you followed, right, like this, this decays like that. So what is happening as sample size is increasing? What is where the probability maximum value is going? See where the maximum probability, you see the peaks where they are going, the peaks. So if this is my y value, say, as number of sample sizes are increasing, now what is happening? The peaks are shifting towards which side? See the peak values where they are going.
Towards the extreme then.
Towards the extreme side only. So what does it tells you? So as the sample size is increasing, say, so what does it mean, sir? So if you are having more number of samples,
higher.
The probability of getting a large values is also high. That is the meaning of this expression. Okay, and if there is one sample set, then with one sample, it looks as good as a data. It's no need for any exponential value distribution, no need any extreme value. So when there is only one sample set, as good as data itself is more or less sufficient actually. Okay, so this is one thing. Now another thing, so let us see another example also, polynomial, the probability densities. So now here also, so let us have a probability density function px of x say is 1 by x square. Okay, and x is less than or equal to 1 and it 0 when x is less than 1. So this is a probability density function. The original data is the polynomial quadratic kind of thing. So it's a distribution function. Say you can This one, so this turns out to be 1 minus 1 by x. You have to integrate this expression, and x is always greater than or equal to 1. Okay, so this is a distribution function actually. Okay, so the original data is distributed like a polynomial type of a probability density function. Now we want to find out the probability of the largest value of this type of data, and then probability of the smallest value from this type of data. So p of yn. So this we want to find out, say. So it is simply, yeah, what is that you have to do? If n is the sample size, say, what happens? Yeah, p of yn will be simply, now what is that we are saying? For the largest value, how do you calculate this probability? So you know the original data density, say data distribution or the data density. What will be the largest value? So what will be its probability? What is that expression we wrote? It is simply you followed the whole to the power of n. Okay, so now what is the px of y here? So this becomes 1 minus 1 by y whole to the power of n. So this becomes, so this is our distribution. Okay, now the density function, say pyn of y. So the derivative will be, so n by y square 1 minus 1 by y whole to the power of the n minus 1, and of course y is greater than or equal to 1. So this is its a density function. Now similarly the smallest value. Okay, so this is p y1 of y, that is the smallest value. So this turns out to be 1 minus 1 minus 1 minus 1 by y. So this is whole to the power of n. So this you can write this as 1 minus 1 by y to the power of n. And so these are now the density function to differentiate this distribution. So you will get n by y square 1 by y whole to the power of n minus 1. So this is the extreme value distribution. For parent distribution is a polynomial, but extreme values are something like, if you try to plot this on a computer, yeah. So everything is starting from 1. You followed. So less than 1, everything is 0. So you have to start from 1. Okay. So this is a thing, say. So this is my the density function pyn of y. Okay, so when the sample size is 1, so when n is equal to 1, say, so what happens when there is only one sample? So when n is equal to 1, what happens? Say like when n is equal to 1, what will happen here in this expression? See, not only here, the previous case also, exponential case or whatever you have, when the n is 1, say, there is only one sample, what happens to the extreme value? The extreme value distribution collapses to see what happens when n is equal to 1.
Data.
It will be same as the data original density itself. Okay, so now here also when n is equal to 1, say, so obviously 1 by x square, the decay is not exponential, it's a quadratic decay will be there. Now as number of samples increases, say, then the extreme value and the original data, they change actually. Okay, so this is n is equal to 2 and n is equal to 5. So if you plot it in MATLAB, you can see as the sample size increases, everything, the peak shifts towards the right hand side, and the probability of observing the extreme values automatically the increases actually. Okay, so this is also one very important thing. So this is a polynomial distribution. Now let us say truncated distributions basically. Okay, like for example the uniform distribution. So I have a uniform distribution, so px of x, so this is 1 when 0 less than x less than 1, otherwise it is 0. Okay, so this is also a probability density, and of course its a distribution function is integral of that expression, so it is x and 0 less than x less than 1. So it is defined only from 0 to 1 only. Okay, now we want to find out yn of y, so the largest value. So this will be simply x to the power of y to the power of n. Okay, and the smallest values, say, are this density function yn of y. So this becomes n times y, n minus 1, and of course the largest smallest value. So this will be 1 minus y whole to the power of n, and it's a density function, say, which is nothing but the derivative. So this turns out to n 1 minus y whole to the power of n minus 1. So this is our distribution actually. So if you try to plot this on a computer, say, okay, so p yn of y, okay, so this is a truncated, so this distribution is only from 0 to 1, okay, more than 1 it is not there, less than 0 also it is not defined actually. So when n is equal to 1, say, what will be the largest value? What will be this function when n is equal to 1? When n is 1, so what happens? Now see this expression, when n is equal to 1, what happens to the largest value? Where it collapses? It collapses to
data itself 1.
so it becomes n is 1 means automatically it becomes a p of yn also will be same as 1. That is the original data. So this is our the value. Now when n is equal to 2, say, so then automatically so 2 times y 2 minus 1, so it becomes like a straight line actually. You followed. So this comes for n is equal to 2. So this is n is equal to 1. And when n increases, say, so then automatically you see the distribution goes like this actually. You followed. So more number of things will be you can see towards the extreme value. So initially the probability of getting 1 is also 1 only, same probability. But now as number of samples increases, automatically the extreme values, so the probability at the extreme values will increase, and then it goes in a other kind of fashion itself. Okay, so this is very important the observations which we can see. Now suppose if the data is a normal distribution, say, like that example problem we have done, no? If the data is a normal, let us say it is standard normal, n 0, 1, so px of x, the normal distributions, it is 1 by root of 2 pi e to the power of minus x square by 2. So this is our density function, say, for a standard normal distribution, okay, and it's a distribution function, so px of x. So this is 1 by root of 2 pi, so minus infinity to x. So e to the power of minus z square by 2 dz. So this anyway I will write this as a phi of x only. Okay. Now the largest value, say, so yn of y. So this will be phi of y whole to the power of n actually. Okay. So this is our for the normal distribution, and it's a density function, say. So you have to differentiate this value. So n by root of 2 pi phi of y n minus 1 e to the power of minus y square by 2, and similarly the smallest value. Okay, the smallest value will be, so py1 of y. So 1 minus you followed it. So phi of y whole to the power of n, and it's a density function, say. So this turns out to be n by root of 2 pi. So 1 minus phi of y n minus 1, and then we have e to the y square by 2. So this is a density function actually. Now if I try to plot this function in the MATLAB, say, okay, it looks like this. When n is equal to 1, how does it look like? So your original distribution is standard normal, n 0, 1. So when original distribution, say, okay, and now when n is equal to, there is only one sample. So now how does it look like? The density function will be So when you are having one sample set, now what happens? The density function will be for the largest value will be same as what will be when n is equal to 1? What happens? Now when n is equal to 1, what happens? When n is equal to 1, what happens to your pyn of y? Or the density function. So what happens when n is equal to 1? It will be same as
The data point.
Data itself. So original data is what type of distribution? See, originally the data we are assuming it is what type of distribution it is?
Normal distribution.
So standard normal. So when n is equal to 1, say, your largest value will be same as the data itself. Now when n is equal to two samples, more number of things are happening, say. So you will see, you know, the distribution you see shifts like this actually. You follow? So when more number of samples, you know, so this may be n is equal to 1, n is equal to 2, then n is equal to 3. So what is happening is as the sample sizes are increasing, say, so automatically, you know, the probability of observing the extreme values will be very high, and the things goes towards the right hand side actually. Okay, so like this, you know, you can work it out, you know, by whatever, like, you know, if I have normal, what happens to the largest value? If I have log normal, what happens to the largest value or smallest value? If it is exponential, say, what happens to the largest, what happens to the minimum value? So this you can easily find out, and then you know, you can get these numbers also. Okay, so this also you can try. So now here the most important question is when n is equal to 1, that is perfectly fine. Now when n is infinity, say, so now I know what happens. So what happens to the extreme things itself? Okay, so this you know, we want to find out. Just 1 second. No. So when n becomes very large, say the asymptotic property. So where does you know, these things goes away? So that is very, you know, the important for us. Okay. So now when n tends to infinity. Okay. So when n tends to infinity, say, what happens to the p of yn of y, and then p y1 of y. Okay, so as n tends to infinity, what happens to these numbers? So that is large number of samples are there. So p yn of y, then you know, p y1 of y. So where do they tend to actually? Okay, so here you know, there is this, if that whatever theorem I told you, say, that is a Fisher you know, this theorem, Tippett you know, Janadenko theorem. Yeah, so this is a famous theorem which shows that you know, these all the, you know, the things say. So whatever may be your parent distribution, it may be exponential, or it may be a quadratic, or it may be a bounded, or whatever it may be. So what this theorem is says that all any parent distribution, say, so everything you know, boils down to 3 domains of attractions actually. Okay. So all of them, they've come under 3 things. So this is a mathematical you know, proof is there. So what they say is your PYN, okay, of y. So they all turn out to be some generalized extreme value distribution. So they say that asymptotically, you know, one can prove also. So largest value, say, okay, so they come under generalized extreme value distribution, which can be written as, you know, this is you see, you can write like this: exponential minus of 1 plus psi y minus mu by sigma minus 1 by psi. This psi is not equal to 0. Okay, or you can also write this expression as exponent, say, minus exponent minus y minus mu by sigma. Okay, so where psi, if psi is equal to 0. So what they say is mathematically one can prove that this p of yn, say, okay, as n becomes very large, whether the original data is you know, this normal or exponential or binomial or whatever it may be, all of them finally they boil down to this type of distributions actually, which they call as, you know, the generalized you know, the distribution. This mu is they define like this. So mu is location parameter. It is something like a mean. Okay, and our sigma, say, is what they call a scale parameter. And this psi, say, this is known as, you see, the shape parameter. Okay, so 3 variables are there. So now this generalized extreme value distribution, so we can split into 3 things basically. Okay, so one is you know, which we call as a type 1. Okay, it's the type 1 distribution. or this is also known as the Gumbel distribution. Okay, so this is a one distribution, you see, which comes into this one. So this distribution is, psi is equal to 0 and y minus mu say by sigma. If I denote this as z in the above expression, you will get this Gumbel distribution. So g of y will be exponential minus exponential, okay, minus z. So this is how we write this expression. Okay, so psi is equal to 0. So this is what we call as the type 1 or this Gumbel distribution. So what mathematically the proof is, like if the original data say, so the original data, okay, the original data, if it has exponential tail, you followed, if it has an exponential tail or decay. Okay, so all these type of distributions where you are having this exponential tail or exponential decay, they all they fall in this type 1. You followed, right? So this distribution comes here. So the examples. So now what are the distributions which have exponential decay? No. What type of distributions has? See, what type of distributions has exponential decays? Which has exponential decay among the distributions whichever we have seen, say, which one has exponential? See, which has exponential decay, which of the distributions? See, which has exponential distribution? See, exponential tail, the decay is exponential. Say, which one has? Yeah, see what type of suppose if you see the normal distribution, say for normal distribution, how this decay is going on. See how it is decaying. It is basically how it is decaying. That final values are dictated by how they are decaying. See normal, say what type of decay it is. See how it is decaying, like you see how it is the decaying, what type of decay it is. It is decaying is exponential only. Suppose if I take exponential distribution, say, so automatically what happens, the decay is exponential decay. So what happens? So the exponential distribution, you followed, exponential random variables, normal random variables, which has e to the power of minus this one. Normal has Poisson, the random variable, you remember that e to the power of minus lambda t something was there, you followed, and chi square. So whatever distributions comes from this type of things here. So all of them, they come under this type 1 distribution. That is what you see, we are calling this as, the Gumbel distribution actually. Okay. Now the other one is so if the original data is exponential, say, so you can say that, the extreme values, basically they will come under Gumbel distribution. So this is the most important thing. Now the second one, that is psi is 1 by alpha, which is greater than 0. So this turns out to be type 2 distribution. You followed. So this is a type 2, the distribution comes into picture. So this is also known as a Pratchett distribution. Okay, and it's this function, say g of z is written as this one. We will write other expressions also, minus 1 second, 1 plus z by alpha whole to the power of minus alpha. Okay, so this is a expression which we have. Okay, and what they say is the original data, say the original data. Okay, if it has a polynomial decay. You followed. So what they say is, these type of all those things as n tends to infinity. Okay, the polynomial decay functions, say, they all come to type 2. You followed. So this is the second one. So exponential decay means they go to type 1. polynomial decay means, they go to this type 2 distribution. The other one is the last one, which is a type 3 distribution that comes psi is minus 1 by alpha, which is less than 0. So this turns out to be type 3 distributions. Okay, or this is also known as Weibull distribution. Okay, so the Weibull distribution we say. Now G of Z say. So this can be written as exponential value minus 1 minus Z by alpha whole to the power of alpha. Okay, so this is a distribution, and this comes with the original data say. Just 1 second. Hello? 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 Class lo unnadu just so the original data, so if it is a bounded distribution, okay, the original data is bounded, say, we followed. So now as n tends to infinity, okay, so this turns out to be, the type 3 distribution basically. So which means, your uniform distribution, or if I have any bounded things, say, so all of them, they go towards type 3. You followed. So this as n tends to infinity. So this is how, the three distributions, they come, you followed, right, like that. So one is, so when we are having exponential decay, say, type 1 comes when it is a polynomial decay, say, type 2 comes, and if the data is, which has a bounds, say, upper bound or lower bound, your type 3, that is a Weibull distribution, you see, comes into picture actually. Okay, so what it says is, whenever you have any data, say, the original distribution, you have to just check its the tail actual. So whether it is exponential decaying, whether it is this type of decay, say, so automatically you can say it will fall under these three things. So this is something like, three domains of attraction, they say. Okay, so three domains of the extraction, but all the three you can write it in one expression also. That is the generalized extreme value, they say. Okay, so this is the generalized expression. We can club everything in one go itself. Okay, so the three parameters are there. So from these three, you can just this you can type 1, type 2, type 3. You can easily say itself. So you just observe the data. So like for example, 1 by x square. So this problem we did, right? So 1 by x square, say, where is that we have done this 1 by x square polynomial decay. So this the largest value as n tends to infinity. So where it goes, so this is a polynomial decays as n becomes very, very large actual. So this expression, so that is a pyn of whatever this expression. So if n tends to infinity, so where it goes, this will go to which domain? Type 1 or type 2 or type 3?
Type 2.
So it is type 2. Now this you mathematically you can prove as n tends to infinity. So you have to do all the theorem is there, which automatically shows you. Now suppose if I have this type of distributions, exponential distribution. So this is my original data. Okay. Now this is what we have got as a double exponential. Now in this expression, say if I put limit n tends to infinity, and now where does it goes? So this when n becomes very, very large. Now, so it becomes which one it goes? Type 1 or type 2 or type 3? Now, what type of decay is this one, the original data?
Exponential.
So if the original data is exponential decay, say, what happens? So its limit, the largest value will become what type of distribution? It goes towards?
Type 1 distribution.
It goes towards a type 1. You followed, right? So these are the domains. So you can Poisson, you can just check whether it is exponential decay or polynomial decay. Polynomial means type 2, exponential means this type of a decay. Now you can have this type also, like as already I told you, truncated distribution. So like you see, we have read some 0 to 2 pi or whatever the truncated things say. This expression we have written. So as n tends to infinity, so where does it come? Where it will come? So limit n tends to infinity, say. So this goes towards. So you have seen, right? It goes to type 3 actually. Okay. whatever may be the decay, it may be, if it is truncated, say, it has to go to type 3. So this comes asymptotically, and this is mathematically it is proven. So the theorem is, this is a Fisher-Tippett-Genedenko theorem says. So this theorem says whatever may be your probability, whatever random variables you may be having, just depending on how they are decaying, actually how they are dying, so that can be decided, the extreme values can be, with they automatically they will fall under these three categories, type 1 or type 2 or type 3 actually. Okay, so now just these are the, I have written the general expressions. Like when you do computations, say the expression is same, only we write it in a slightly different the format only. Okay, so double exponential only you can see here. So this is a double exponential, e to the power of minus e to the power of minus z actually. Okay, so if I write this type 1, nicely say, like, in practice, we write like this. So this is, my probability density function yn of y, a double exponential only. So e to the power of minus e to the power of minus alpha n, yn minus un actually. So generally we write like this, same expression only we write like this, and it's a density function, say yn of y. So this will be alpha n e to the power of minus alpha n yn minus un, and e to the power of, say, sorry, e to the power of, is also expression will be there. Minus e to the power of minus alpha n yn minus un actually. Okay, so the same expression only, and of course everything goes from minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay, so this is how we write the expressions. Now the same expression only, both are same only, like you see, e to the power of minus z. Z anyway is y minus mu by sigma. So just generally in textbooks, many places, they write like this only. Okay, now this un and this yn, say this un and alpha n, so these are the parameters, and they have, we can that mathematical things are there. We will not go into the details, I will just define you. So this alpha n, say, so it is defined as 1 by root of 6 pi by sigma of yn. So if I know the standard deviation of the data, the mean value of the data, so I can easily find out these numbers, and un is, mu of y to the power of yn, that's a mean value, minus 0.5772 by alpha n. So these are the numbers. So if I know the mean and standard deviation of the data, say, I can plug here, I can get this alpha n and un, I can substitute in this expression, and I can find out the probability, the density or whatever, for the largest value itself. Now similarly, say, we can also write for the smallest value also, that also will be Gumbel only. So the smallest value, so p y1 of y. Okay, so this will be 1 minus e to the power of exponent is there, double exponential only, 1 minus e to the alpha 1 y1 minus u1. Okay, as already I told you, 1 stands for smallest, n stands for the largest value. So this is its probability distribution. You can find out its density also. So you have to just differentiate the above expression. So alpha 1 e to the power of minus alpha 1 into y1 minus u1 exponential minus e to the power of alpha 1 y1 minus u1. Okay, so minus infinity less than y1 less than infinity. Okay, so these are the numbers, and alpha 1, say, is 1 by root of 6 pi by sigma of y1, and then u1 is mu of y1. So from the data we calculate this one, plus 0.5772 by alpha 1. So this is how we calculate, you see, the mean, the alpha and u, that is a parameter which is in the Gumbel distribution actually. Okay, so to have just a quick this one, so let us say we have the quick example. Let us see. So we have a data on maximum wind velocity. Okay, maximum wind velocity. So this data we have. Okay, so like for example, in a month you observe the wind values, say, okay, and then in the month daily you will be observing the wind value. Now you take the maximum value, that wind in that particular month itself. So you are already calculating on the maximum velocities. So we have compiled for n years. So this data has been compiled for n years, it has been compiled, and the mean and standard deviation, say, of the wind speed, that is the maximum wind speed, is 61.3, and then standard deviation is 7.5 to some miles per hour or whatever are the units. So these are the data sets. So somebody has collected the maximum wind speed and the mean value standard deviation has been estimated actually. Now let us assume that, and this has been done for n years. Okay. Now let us say we assume that it is a type, and we assume that the wind velocity, the original wind velocity was normal distribution. Say, so if it is normal distribution, what type of where it goes? It falls into which category? For the largest value,
Type 1.
type 1, that is a Gumbel distribution. So now I want to find out the probability that the maximum wind velocity, okay, will be, more than, will exceed actually 100 miles per hour. So this is what you find. So now since it is a, if it is a normal or whatever, so automatically type 1. So I'm assuming that it is a type 1 say. Now let us find out this value. Okay. So now mean is there, standard deviation is there. Now, but if you want to fit in Gumbel say, mean and standard deviation are not sufficient. You have to find out alpha, you have to find out un. So you have to substitute in this expression sigma of yn, and the mean value say of yn has to be substituted here. You have to calculate this parameter. So alpha n. So this is 1 by root of 6. Pi by standard deviation is 7.52. So this turns out to be 0.17055. Then un. Okay, so this also you calculate. So mu of yn, that 0.5772 to alpha n. So this turns out to be 57.9157. So these are our numbers actually. So now the probability is say my wind speed, that is yn, greater than 100. Okay, so this you can find out by minus yn of 100. So this is our expression. Oh, sorry. So the expression is, this is our expression. So substitute in this expression alpha, yn, everything un, substitute in this expression, and automatically, you can get this numbers itself. Okay, so you calculate here. So 1 minus, exponential value minus e to the power of minus 0.17055 100 minus 97 points or 57 point, the mean un 57.9157. Okay, substitute in this number. So this turns out to be 0.000763. So this is the probability actually. Okay, so now what is your comment on this probability? What is your comment after looking at this value? Whether wind speed will exceed?
No, sir. The chances of exceeding is very less.
Why it is very less? Because whatever data we are using, so this is not the whole wind data. So we have compiled only the maximum wind speed. So in a month, so we have just a kind maximum value. This is the mean value, and standard deviation is 7.52. You followed. So 7.52 means 3 times sigma will be 7 3s are 21. So 21 plus 61, if you do say 85 or something only. So whatever 100 is, much beyond your limit itself. That's why the probability will be, very extremely low of getting these type of values actually. Okay, so this is how we can use this, the extreme value distribution. Suppose the same problem say you take all the wind data say, okay, so that means your mean and standard deviation, I don't know standard, but mean will come down, and if you use as a normal distribution or something, this will be, you may be underestimating this numbers itself. Okay, so this is the thing how we can use the Gumbel distribution in practice. Okay, so I will stop here. If you have any questions, you can ask. Now, so if you have any questions or doubts, please ask.